Hey, crypto heads, it's the Goose with the Cryptic Paranormal Show. Welcome to another awesome episode. We're super duper excited about tonight. We got an
So
amazing
excited that we
guest.
can't even talk.
Right.
Oh, oh,
but before we get
I know who.
into
I knew
whatever
it.
rabbit hole,
Oh,
there she is.
oh,
Oh,
it's the baby.
princess.
It's the Princess Peanut Buttercup.
It would
She's
not be
tiny.
an
Got her
interview with you
own.
without the baby.
Yeah, well, you know what? She's got her own Facebook page. She is an
Oh
internet
yeah.
sensation.
She
Yeah.
is.
There you go. Okay, lay down. Go to
Hey,
sleep,
Miss
honey.
Lynn Ann Bowling's on. How are you? Yep.
Peanut.
She
It's
said
Peanut.
So how is everybody doing tonight, Denise? How are you been? How was your week? Anything
Gr-
anything interesting and new?
no, just lots of work. Left at 7:30 this morning and just got home 8 minutes
Oh,
ago.
yeah, that's not good. That's
Oh,
no
Yeah,
fun. But you
yikes.
love your job, right?
I do. I do. It's
That helps.
crazy.
It helps. It's long hours,
Yeah.
but it helps. How are you
Yeah.
doing, Mike? Mr. High
I'm doing
Score?
good. Doing
Good.
good.
I saw that your son, little Lincoln, there started preschool this week. I saw the picture.
Yep.
How's he?
Yeah, he
How's he
did.
liking that so far?
He likes it. He
Yeah.
likes it. Yeah. I mean, usually, like I say, what'd you do today? He says nothing, and I take that. I'm like, okay, because he wants to get into a long-winded conversation with a 4.5-year-old.
Yeah, right. He's just like his dad, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like spot on what would come out of your mouth if we asked the
Yep.
same thing. So, so that's enough about us. I had the same thing. Busy week. Work. The girls are going insane. Eliza's playing on 2 softball teams now. She got on one of the travel teams. She tried out and made it, so she's on 2. And my oldest daughter in high school, is going crazy with marching band. She's there right now, and yeah, it's been just Taxi City. So it's been fun.
Nice.
Besides work,
Yeah.
and I got about another 10 days of work. I don't have a weekend this weekend. I'm on call all weekend, so I was looking forward tonight because this is kind of like my relaxing, chill night with all my friends. And one of those friends is down there in the corner, Miss Andrea Perrin. We
Hi.
love you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. We've been excited. So
I
excited.
love you. And hi to Jonathan and Laura and Lenny and everybody that came on and joined us tonight because, I still, it was almost a waste of a plane ticket for my flight back from Detroit to Atlanta
Yeah.
because I could have just floated home. I mean, really, the Michigan Paracon this year was off the charts.
Yeah.
And Lynn Ann Bowling and her husband Jeff ran my table. They ran my life.
Nice.
Jeff drove me the entire length, the long way from Detroit
wow.
to the Sioux and
Yeah.
back 2 days later.
Nice.
I have, and I count you among them, I have friends who are the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
There are no
Thank you.
people better on this planet, I am absolutely convinced, than the freaking weirdos, the paranormal people,
Yep.
and we're
Absolutely.
such an eclectic mix of people.
That's my
Oh, we are.
favorite part.
I mean, we're all
Yeah.
so different,
Mhm.
but the thing that we have in common is so significant
Yeah.
that it just knocks all the rest of that crap to the side.
Yeah.
And we can we don't have to talk about politics. We don't have to
Yeah.
talk about
Right.
religion.
Yeah.
We don't have to
Yeah.
talk about any of that. All we have to talk about is the undead and the possibility of life after death.
Yeah.
Right.
We just stick to that. We
Right.
get along beautifully.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
and it's
we
so
do.
nice to just be able to say anything and
Yeah.
know that the people that you're talking to get it. They
Yeah.
get you, they understand because all of them have had some form of experience or another that
Right.
caused them to gravitate to these events that we
Yeah.
all go to routinely throughout the year. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of times we just see the same people over and over and over again. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
great because that's how you build the solid foundation of friendship between
Yeah.
individuals that sometimes live thousands of miles apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my
I
thing. I love you all. And the happiest people I know are obsessed
Yeah.
with death.
Yes.
Yes. Death,
I
and
do
in
love
my case, and I know yours, UFOs, Me,
Oh,
Bigfoot. Anything weird off the charts.
Yeah.
are we talking about the galactic family tonight too? Because I mean,
Oh,
I will talk
please
about
do.
anything, and we've got 2 hours.
Please do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm all over it like white on rice. I am telling you,
Well,
we had
that's the thing. Like,
experiences. At the
yeah,
zoo, they
yeah.
were off the charts.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
Nice.
I remember it was 2018 when I was able to go to the Old Mill Parafest. Is when the first time I actually met you face to face, and
Yes.
I was immediately drawn to you. Unfortunately, I was the only one there running a table. I didn't get to see your lecture, but I was hearing it. I'm like, I just gotta get to know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And then, during a smoke break, we go out and we're looking at the skies, and you're telling your stories. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to know more about this.
Yeah.
So obviously, when we had you on last time, we talked about the Conjuring House, which the Rhode Island farmhouse that you grew up in,
Yes.
and all your ups and downs and all your crazy experiences. But for some reason, I just feel like the relevancy of this whole UFO alien
Mhm.
experiences thing is very important right now, because I mean, it's all over. It's all over in
Well,
the media.
it's important.
Mike
all
is like,
the
no.
time. No, it's no, Mike, snap out of it. Don't make me slap you. I can't right through the computer. You don't know what magical powers I possess. Oh yeah, okay. So Lynn can already tell that I'm sucking down the coffee. She knows, because when I get like this, I'm beyond excited. I'm also ultra
Cheers.
caffeinated. Cheers. Mm.
Cheers.
It was cheers.
Yeah.
It was that, or hello. Look at all these nice people.
No,
Oh, I
everybody's
can
chiming
listen.
in.
Yeah, okay, I can listen. Oh, Laura. Somebody just said I could listen to me for hours. Yeah, well, you know what? My sister would beg to differ. She's she's like, are you talked out now? I mean, are you good? Are you done for now? Can we
Right.
just relax? I can't help it. I'm very excited, but I agree with you, Goose. I think that it is a pivotal time.
Mhm.
We really are. Hold on, I have my eye. I have something besides my finger in my eye. Hold on.
Oh, it's
Okay,
fine.
got it. It's the reason that you're thinking that it's such a pivotal time is because of the congressional hearings
Yeah.
that are
Mhm.
happening.
Yes.
The only reason that any Congress people, any senators or reps are pushing this issue at all is not because of their fascination with
Mhm.
what we all know is happening. This is all
Right.
about maintaining power and control. This is
Mhm.
all about making sure that they put out stuff into the world which makes people recoil a little bit inside, like
Mhm.
our galactic family somehow poses a threat.
Right.
That is
Mhm.
the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my entire lifetime,
Thank
and I
you.
have been a contactee for well more than 50 years.
Mhm.
And I have never once in all of my connectivity with the family ever felt anything but love and honor and respect and deep
Mhm.
gratitude. Every single morning, I get up and I sit my ass out on that deck while I'm here in Georgia with my mom and my sister Chris. And I just look up into the north sky, which is where my vessels are. They're always there. They're always there. There's never a time they're not there. And I just, you know what? Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Mhm.
I love you for sentimental reasons. I appreciate anything that you could do to help us. And I would really like it if you could get your asses down here before we completely self destruct.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that was honestly my biggest takeaway from the congressional hearing was that,
Mhm.
obviously we've all known that there's been something for decades. Like
Forever.
them
Millennia.
saying
Millennia.
it out loud does not make it just now true. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
besides all of that, you know, if they wanted us gone, we'd be gone.
A
Right.
And
long time ago.
right. And so that was my biggest takeaway from the congressional hearing was that oh, look, now they're turning it into a national security risk. Leave
Right.
it up to our government to turn it into something dangerous, and we
Right.
need to
And
stop
scary.
them. For
Scary.
what?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Fear-based carbon units. And it's not just our
Mhm.
government that's doing that.
Right.
Although there are others.
Molly.
Holly, hi, honey.
Mm.
I and Jonathan, oh my God, I get to see Jonathan in like a week and a half in
Yay.
Rhode Island. So, here's the thing about that. And, we can start here and we can go to, spooky ghosts and spirits a little bit later. But I think that this bears repeating, and I have said it ad infinitum over as long as I have been a public figure out lecturing about this subject. I am so grateful for The Conjuring, and I am so
Mhm.
grateful that that film not only made me one of the very best selling authors in the genre. House of Darkness, House of Light is selling better now than it did when the movie broke. Okay.
Yes.
It's
Oh wow.
crazy all these
Awesome.
years later. And I'm still,
Yeah.
I can't sign enough books fast enough.
Mhm.
I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts at Michigan. I'm like, all of these people have my work already. They
Aw.
Yeah.
must.
Yeah.
And yet they were buying them for gifts for Christmas for their friends and,
Right.
people like-minded individuals that would
Mhm.
get it. And that's all wonderful. But here's the thing. That story, our true story, and the truth is stranger than fiction. Please mark my
Mhm.
words. The true story behind the fictionalized film gave me the forum and the platform and the megaphone that
Mhm.
I needed to talk about what's really important in this life. And that is
Mhm.
that we are absolutely unequivocally not alone in
Mhm.
this universe, period,
Agreed.
over and out.
Mhm.
And if anybody wants to dispute that, go right ahead. But whenever I hear somebody do that, I know that that's just another fear-based carbon unit who is speaking through that fear
Mhm.
Mhm.
because he or she is terrified that all of us experiencers are telling the truth and it will fracture their own personal belief
Yes.
system.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that's why they're like, woo, woo. No,
Right.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
not what
I
this
guess.
is about. This is about love. This is about
Right.
love and only
Mhm.
love. And they are here in numbers that most people will never be able to wrap their minds around. I mean, we are so not alone. It's ridiculous how not alone we are.
Mhm.
And when people come to that, here's the value of the if Lenny makes one more comment about my
You're
cat,
fine. Make as
just
many as you
one
want.
more. Um, the thing that's important that came out of the hearings is the verification and the validation
Mhm.
that there were crashes in the desert, that bodies were recovered, organic beings as they
Mhm.
described them. And Goose, will you quit smoking? I can't smoke in the house. You're
Sorry.
pissing
Yeah.
me off because you're
I
doing
threw it
what
away.
I want to do and cannot. Okay, so
I
It's
got you.
about to
I'm
get really
done.
uncomfortable for you here really soon.
well, I think it depends on what you're smoking. Okay, so we'll discuss that first. No,
Yeah, I think that was super important, the validation, because,
Yeah.
people have spent decades telling their stories and telling their experiences only to have people say, no, you're crazy. The government says there's
Mhm.
nothing. You're crazy. You're crazy. Like that was important to me,
Yeah.
just for all of those people who tell their stories all the time and everybody just blacklists them and write them
Mhm.
off as, nuts.
Well, the thing that is distressing to me is that I've worked.
All right, sorry, 1 second.
That's okay. Oh, it's a small
It's
little person with red
Lincoln.
hair.
It's Lincoln time.
Oh,
Hey, buddy.
Lincoln, hi, honey. Hi, you got
Lincoln,
one?
your glasses
Hi.
are so cool.
Hi.
Are those the
You wanna
Spider-Man
meet
glasses?
Peanut Buttercup?
What is that?
This is
Look
my
at
little
Buttercup.
dog. This is my little dog, and her name is Peanut. And she just loves you. I can tell she does.
What's he want? Is he a boy or a girl?
It's a little girl. She's a little girl, not so little anymore. Because, snap streets, stuff. Okay, go back to sleep now. That's a good girl.
What's your name?
Oh. Her name is Princess Peanut Buttercup.
And what's your name, Goose?
What's my name?
You just said his
Yes.
name,
You
goofball.
said my name. Goose. Your Uncle Goose.
What's your name, G-Nice?
Sally.
Their dog.
Because
It makes Daddy look prettier.
Doesn't he look so handsome?
we're live, so
We're live, so,
You
Good night, Lincoln.
stop.
Okay.
all right.
Bye, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's
You're fine.
okay. Good night, honey.
It's not a show
Good
without
night, buddy. I love you.
Oh, that's precious. Precious. Oh,
Keep
my
going while they're young, man, because they don't want anything to do with me anymore.
I know. Unless you've got possession of the car keys. Yeah. So the thing is this Holly. Oh, that's great, sweet. Okay, so the thing that is most distressing to me is that all of that, the only time the government has been honest with us about this from the inception of the Roswell crash was the day that they printed the newspaper that they then retracted the story from and turned it into a weather balloon. They are the lying liars who lie. It is the worst kept secret of the last century and this one.
Right.
And they are absolutely terrified that by disclosing, big D, disclosing the existence of extraterrestrials who are interacting with humanity, they will somehow have their they're working very hard to protect, defend, and to propagate their own power. And they can't be the authorities if there are other races that are so technologically advanced that it makes, their weapons of war look like, they're playing Battleship. I mean, it really is. They're so spiritually, technologically, psychologically, even physically advanced from us. Most of the different races that have visited or who are cohabitating with us on the planet are humanoid. Almost all. There are some mixtures like the Greys. Some who have done some very serious research into this feel that the Greys are a mixture of humanoid and AI, and that they've had a lot to do with the taking of people and some experimentation, that they don't know they're doing anything wrong or harmful. But in recent years, how you don't hear reports about quote unquote abductions anymore.
Right.
That is because I have it on the very best authority that they were told to stop, that it was upsetting and that they were doing harm, even though they meant to do no harm. They didn't understand that, by them learning more about us was detrimental to us. But to preserve the power structure that we know as our U.S. military, the Department of Defense, there are people at the upper echelon of the Department of Defense that don't know what's going on about this. This is so deeply buried beneath the landscape of what we think of as our national government, our federal government, and our National Institute of whatever that's meant to keep us safe. What is it? The national, I'm having a brain freeze. It's COVID. I'm telling you, it's COVID. National Security.
Security, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about. I can't remember an acronym.
I do that every night on this show.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that word?
What's that word? Yeah. Well, I never used to have that problem until I had COVID 4 times, and now my brain is liquefied. Thank you very much. but at least, all right, I'm through it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that upsets me the most, is because we have a right to know.
Yeah.
And disclosure is well underway. In fact, I would say that it has happened, and it's happened through people like us who
Yeah.
have had experiences and had enough courage to talk about it, to put it
Yeah.
out into the world, to share our experience with others, and not give a damn who thinks what about us. And I
Yeah.
think that's where you have to get to the point where you just don't care what
Right.
anybody
Yeah.
else is going to say
Yeah.
Right.
about it. You can just put it out, and that in turn activates people to it liberates them to tell their own story.
Yeah.
And that is I like to call it the what was that commercial years and years ago? D, you'll know. It was shampoo, and they draw all the little screens, and it was rinse and repeat, and so on and so on and so on. It's like
Oh.
not L'Oreal, but it's like
Yeah.
it's that effect. It's the shampoo effect.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat, rinse
Yeah.
and repeat.
Yeah.
Put it out,
Yep.
put it out, put it out,
Yeah.
and not care
Yeah.
how it's received, because the information is more important than people's reaction to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? I think that I've seen a huge change in people. And I understand that like TikTok has algorithms, and so I'm only seeing certain things, but I've seen a huge change in people just in terms of like now it's okay to talk about it, and everybody's talking about it, and everybody was showing videos, and everybody was sharing their experiences, and then the government's like, hey guys, aliens are real, and everybody just kind of went, no shit, and then just went back to their daily lives because it was but
Because we
for
all
those
know it.
people, yeah, but
Yeah.
for those people who were still like in the closet with their experiences, now they feel like it's okay. And so now they're talking about it too. So you have twice as many people talking about it now. And I think that's great, because even if you look at the comments on these videos,
Mhm.
it's not people saying you're crazy or you were drunk, or,
Well,
it's
that's
people saying,
Photoshop. Yeah.
yeah, it's people saying, I experienced that too, or,
Mhm.
whatever, what a cool experience, whatever. I just love it. I feel like people, and honestly, there's a lot of bad things, obviously, that came out of COVID, but I feel like people are starting to wake up as a collective.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are starting to realize that
Agreed.
we should be closer to nature. We should not be working, all these hours, and we should be spending time with our feet in the dirt and, paying attention and caring about the land. Not not so much like climate change, like that kind, but like going out and being connected to nature
Right.
and
Mhm.
realizing that it's not even just this world that is all connected. Everything is all connected. And I've been seeing
Mhm.
so much of that, and it makes my heart so happy to see
It,
it.
it does. It does for me too. And I think that we saw a real uptick of that during COVID, when people were
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
isolated and they felt a need to connect. But
Yes.
the best way to get people to care about the living, breathing organism that we live on is for them to go out, take the shoes off, and
Yes.
interact with the organism. Bird
Yes.
watching went through the
Yes.
roof. Bird
Yeah.
feeding went through the
Yes.
roof.
Mhm.
People were, going out. We went through a 3-year period basically where the only way for us to express our deep affection for each other was to stay the hell away from one another, so
Right.
that we didn't
Right.
infect each other with a
Right.
deadly virus.
It
Okay,
was
Yeah.
so great.
it was so great, Mike. It was, I don't
But
know.
it
Not
was
the deaths. Not the deaths. Not the deaths.
No,
But-
not the death.
obviously.
No,
I
the
loved it.
isolation.
Yeah.
Isolation was like living in a meditation. I
Yes.
mean, we were all up here all the time.
Yeah.
We were,
Yeah.
in our heads, and our hearts were breaking wide open for all those that were being lost, and we were very stressed. But sometimes, as Leonard Cohen said, There is a light in there is a crack in
Yes.
everything. That's how the light gets in.
Yes.
And we were
Mhm.
shattered. We were fractured. We were lost. We were frightened. The
But it was
vibration of this
good
planet went
though.
up because of fear.
Yes.
But then came the love.
Yes.
And then
That's what
came,
I'm seeing. Because
yes, yes.
we live in a society that is so like instant gratification. We're constantly being stimulated by everything. We're constantly like, going places and going to shows and doing all these things and working and whatever. And it it got to a point where people couldn't do that anymore. And they
Mhm.
were forced, and it wasn't great at the beginning, but an awakening is never beautiful. Um,
Right. Yeah.
People were forced to pay attention to their emotions, and they were forced to look within instead of like constantly looking at everything else that's going on in the world. And what are you going to do when you're stuck at home? I guess the only thing you can do is go outside. And so people started to like learn, they could be 60, 70 years old, but maybe they've never actually taken the time to just sit there in their feelings,
Right.
and
Yes. So namaste on. Yeah,
yes. And
exactly.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that overall there's so many people who have had this like awakening journey from being stuck at home with COVID, because there was nothing else to do, as bad as that sounds. I mean, I'm glad that it ended up the way it did, but people were really forced to look inside for happiness instead of constantly being stimulated by everything in the outside world.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I could not agree with you more about that. I think it is it's obvious, it is self-evident, this transformation that is occurring. And
Yeah.
hello, Laura. We just we went through what I have been lecturing about for at least a dozen years. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, the
Yeah.
paradigm shift.
Yes. I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about that too. Yeah.
And what you need to know. And when somebody would say, well, what's a paradigm shift? And I guess in the most simplistic terms, the best way to describe it is, when it is past, you will know it, and nothing will ever be the same again. And it
Mhm.
is part of the Great Awakening. It is part of the Enlightenment. It is part of the illumination of humanity, and
Uh-huh.
coming to that realization of oneness, that we are one
Yes.
human
Right.
race, and
Yes.
that separation is an illusion. The fracturing of us into tribes, colors, sexes,
But it's fear-based.
it's all
It's
fear-based.
it's
It's all
meant to
bullshit, all
keep
of
us
it,
in a
all of it.
constant, right.
Yep.
It's meant to keep us in a constant state of fear. When you're afraid
Fear and
of your
loathing.
neighbors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My
It's
mother asked me the other day, she's like, she was confused, and she said, like that Catholic thing, she said, "Oh, it's the Trinity. It's the three. It's like a pyramid,"
Mhm.
right? She was a little
Yeah.
confused. And
uh
I said, "Yes, Mom. I'll tell you what the Trinity is in Catholicism: guilt, shame, fear. Fear, shame, guilt. That's, and that
Yeah.
all works in tandem together. And it's not
Mhm.
just Catholic. I'm a recovering Catholic, some 45 years now, so
Same.
I can speak to this. Goose, no, I don't want to see anything come up through your nose while I'm talking. Nothing. All right.
I do.
It almost
Funny.
happened. It almost
Candy
happened.
food. And but that's all part of and there are numerous religions that people practice all over the world. And what did people do when we get hit with this international global pandemic where
Mhm.
millions of people are dying? And what are we doing? We're praying, we're praying for ourselves and our families. We're praying for the souls of others. People are dying horrible deaths. They're dying alone. Our hearts are breaking for them. Our hearts are shattered by the loss of a loved one that we were not able to say goodbye to. I mean,
Mhm.
it literally squeezed us to the point where we ruptured
Yeah.
and started to come to understand that we are all in this together. All of
Yeah.
us are. And we're still up against that other conflict, that mindset, that duality, the good, the evil, the darkness, the light. All of that persists in a 3D realm as we, like baby chicks, peck our way out
Yeah.
of this little egg that feels safe. But on the outside of it, once that transition occurs, once we have struggled to the point where we're so exhausted as we're trying to navigate the river of life while we're swimming against the current,
And trying to hold other people up and
right.
Right.
And then we
Right.
finally get to the point, each one of us, I think, individually on our spiritual journey during this evolution, gets to the point where we're like, okay, I need to flip over and float, or I'm going to drown.
yeah.
And that is happening societally more and more and more.
Yeah.
Where
I'm loving
people
it.
are just spent. And it
Mhm.
is when you reach that point of physical, mental, psychological, and spiritual exhaustion that you simply have to find a way to let the universe take you home, because
Yes.
it knows the way, and apparently we don't. And that's what they are waiting for, because you see, they can't do this for us.
Yeah.
I wrote a treatise years ago, and I'm sorry, I might give you guys just a little bit of a chance to talk during our
You're
2 hours.
fine.
But
That's
for the
fine.
most part, I'm probably going to run the fucking thing right into the ground. Okay, I'm telling you right now, because that's how it is, and too much coffee, and there it is. But the thing that I think that is most important for us to come to terms with, and I think that the paranormal community worldwide has its finger on the pulse of this,
Uh-huh.
is it's all integrated. Everything is energy. Everything is one thing. It's existence, it's consciousness, it's energy.
Yeah.
You give it a name or whatever you want. Where did Michael go? Where did Michael go? Michael.
He'll be back. I don't know.
There it is.
I'm smoking from it's fine. You got my friends right over there. Well, if you think they're nutritious and delicious, they can't really hurt you.
So I saw
Pop up a lung.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I saw a TikTok the other day that really made me happy, because I feel like I kind of woke up before everybody around me, and to be honest, I don't feel like I know those people anymore. I've been feeling like super separated from people.
Yeah.
And I saw this TikTok that said that we can't all wake up at the same time. We can't all have an awakening at the same time. There has to be light bringers, and it's our job. We've been through it. We know what it means to be awakened, and we have to go through it alone, which is harder, but then we have to be there to turn around and help people who maybe aren't there yet, but they'll get there.
Right.
Yeah.
But they'll get
And
there.
when they are,
Yeah,
then
and
you
if they're
turn
not
around and help them.
completely closed down to it, if they're just even a little receptive, and they
Mhm.
start to feel that higher vibration, that vibe that resonates and feels good. It feels good to feel good.
Yeah.
It feels good to, when I was in Michigan this weekend, I was joyful. I was exhausted. I was like,
That'll look like an amazing, amazing time.
Yeah.
All my friends are sending me pictures. I'm like, oh,
oh, it was great. It was. And it is, metamorphosis is transcendental, just like the caterpillar that ruptures the cocoon because it is growing so large that the chrysalis can no longer hold it, and it explodes, and then out come the wings.
Yeah.
And it takes flight. So, it really is all very simple. The one piece of advice that exists in every liturgical writing that has ever been penned by a human being in the course of human history has one underlying theme, and that is what we call the golden rule: do unto others as though you are the others, because to someone else, you're the others.
Right.
And that's it is a coming together and a genuine caring for one another, and coming to the conclusion that separation is an illusion, and that we are all connected, that there is a cosmic connection between every single one of us, and that we are all on this planet at this time
Right.
to bring us out of our 3D shell so that
Mhm.
we can each peck our way out and discover the limitless universe
Yeah.
that is on the other side that completely surrounds us, but we can't see it because we're like, no, it's safer in
Yeah.
here this way, it's safer. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, they can't do it for us because, like a lesson that I learned when I was a child, and I was at an egg farm with my mother. I wrote a whole part in my latest book about that. It's called The Chicken and the Egg, and there were we were at a farm where we were buying fresh eggs, and they were letting some of the eggs become baby chicks and
Uh-huh.
fertilized eggs. And I was in there, and one I saw a little tiny beak. The egg started moving, and this little tiny beak started coming out. And I reached over to crack the egg open so that I could hold the baby chick. I was
Oh.
only 12 years old. And
Yeah.
my mother just retracted my hand and she said, "Oh no, honey, if you crack the egg, the baby will die." I was freaking mortified that I,
Yeah.
through sheer ignorance, almost killed an innocent baby chick.
Yeah.
And I realized that what she was trying to tell me years later, when I had an epiphany from above, when they forced me to remember a story that had happened to me when I was 12 and I was 63 or 62 at the time, what they were trying to remind me of, because I had learned the lesson then not to rupture the egg.
Mhm.
They were trying to remind me that we have to peck our way out of our 3D shell by ourselves, because the amount of strength, resilience, and resourcefulness and energy that is required for that baby chick to release itself from its own prison is exactly equivalent to the amount of energy that will be required on the outside of that egg for it to sustain its own life.
Yeah.
And so if they do it for us, we will perish. If
I
we
fucking
don't
love
do
it.
it for ourselves,
Yeah.
we will perish. And so
Yes.
we are on that precipice at this time. And that's why shows like this and all of us gathering together the way we do, birds of a feather, and talking about this seriously
Yeah.
is part of the enlightenment. It is part of the awakening. It is part of the paradigm shift. And
Yes.
all of this is happening for a reason. If any
It's
of you would like to talk, this is your
it's
opportunity.
it's definitely
Lesson bird?
something that you can't force on people though.
Mhm.
No.
Nope.
It's one of those things that, like, once you understand it, it's almost like you completely understand it. Like, once you
Yes.
open your mind a little bit to one aspect of it, then it all just comes in and you're like, "Oh my God, I get it."
And you can't go back to sleep.
No,
That's
never.
the thing. You
Never.
just can't. It's like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
touched by spirit. Once
Yeah.
that door is opened, it never closes again. And you can turn your back on it and say,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know, that was something else. It wasn't what I thought it was. It was something. But eventually it's going to come through. It's going to reach through. It's
Yeah.
going to tap you on the shoulder. It's going to remind you, make its presence known. And you're not going to be able to deny it. And you're going to have another experience,
Yeah.
because that is part of this growth process that we are all going through. And this is like a continuum. This is not a vertical ladder where some people are at a higher rung than others.
Right.
We're each on our own individual course. And the safest assumption for any of us to make is that we know absolutely nothing compared to what there is to know.
Yeah.
That we are all
Mhm.
little children lost in the dark, trying to find our way to the light. All of us.
And I think that's a
Drives
huge
me nuts when I hear people in this field describe themselves as experts.
expert.
No, you're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
I think that's part of, like, one of the
agree.
biggest problems with humanity is literally just ego. Like, if
Yeah.
Yeah,
people
right.
could just get rid of their ego and just realize, first of all, you are a teeny tiny speck in the universe. You are literally nothing. And I'm sorry, I'm nothing. We're all nothing. You know what I mean? Like, in the grand scheme of things, I know you think the universe revolves around you, but like, if you could just take
Mhm.
your ego and just set it aside and
Mhm.
just realize, as soon as you realize that you have so much to learn, you like it opens doors. And
It does.
like,
Humility is a very valuable practice. We
yes,
should practice gratitude and we should practice humility because
yes,
we are blithering idiots. We are the
yes.
walking ignorant. We are dumber than dirt, and that
Thank
is
you.
an insult to dirt.
Right? Yes, it's so the ego is like so many
Yeah.
people. I think it holds so many people back from so many different things, not even just in the
Yeah.
like spirituality part of it, like in everyday life, your ego holds you back from
Yeah.
so many
Mhm.
things.
It does.
I get
And-
so overwhelmed by it, just like watching on social media, that I have to like step back and like,
Oh,
Yeah,
me too. I never
close
even
myself
go
off
there
from it.
anymore. I don't want to see my news feed.
Yeah.
I don't want to know who of my
right.
followers are blithering idiots. I don't want to know that.
Yeah,
I'll just love them because they exist, but
yeah.
don't tell
Yeah.
me too much. Yeah.
And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
what I mean, that's another thing with like the door opening and you can't close it. Like I can't do it anymore. I can't talk to people about the weather. I can't talk, you know what I mean? Like I just can't have small talk anymore. Like
I know.
Mhm.
I just feel like I don't relate to anybody unless it's like a show like this and we're like deep diving into things. I just can't do normal anymore. I
No.
can't.
Well,
No.
no, because normal is really overrated, and normal is it's a really low bar.
Yeah.
Really low. Like you can step right over it because it's buried in the
Yeah.
ground. And so if you want to elevate your own consciousness, if you want to raise the vibration of this planet, you have to bring a certain, not just intellectual prowess to, and I'm not talking about elitism and you've got 15 degrees.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
No.
talking about innate curiosity, nurturing your own personal fascination. Goose and I have talked about this at length. And
Uh-huh.
because we go right for the jugular when and we have these. It might only be a 10-minute
That's
conversation,
how it should be.
Yeah.
but that's how
Yeah.
it should be. And we both leave enriched. We both leave
Yeah.
like having learned something from one another.
Yeah.
And isn't that the point? The
Right.
people that are
Yeah.
out there, like for instance, our government that likes to tell us this is how things are and this is how
Yeah.
things are. And you know what? I'll tell you what, if we are enslaved by our galactic family, it's this. It's
Yep.
the
Oh, yeah.
technology
Yeah.
that they brought to this planet that they gave us. We went from rotary party lines to this in my
Yeah,
lifetime.
exactly.
Yeah.
To a computer
Yeah.
in
In
a
the
little
span of
square, a little
a
box
few
here, this
years.
little
Yeah.
simple thing where you can talk to
Mhm.
anybody in the world at any given moment and
But at the same
control.
time, you could be monitored at any given moment and they can
Oh, I
see your
don't care.
face at any
Oh
given
God.
moment. No, I'm just
Oh,
saying, like,
oh,
the
they are.
technology of them is out of control.
Yeah,
There's
it is.
no way. We went from
Mhm.
cordless phones to that in like 10
Right.
years. No way. That's
Yeah.
totally
I think you're selling us short still. I don't know.
no, no.
Mike, what do you think about this? No, really, tell me what you really think about this.
I still think it's Tesla stuff.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, Tesla was one of them. He was not. I should call her phone right now. No, Lenny, you know what? Get the volume turned off. I will just ignore it. No, Tesla was Tesla was beyond a genius. Leonardo da Vinci was beyond genius. Galileo was beyond genius. I really do believe, their philosophy is first do no harm. And so I think, Hippocrates and, the great philosophers that have come, Jesus Christ, I truly do believe is an extraterrestrial and that's what we worship as our God, made in the image and likeness of. It is literally the only plausible explanation, as far as I am concerned, for the story
Yeah.
of the Immaculate Conception and the three wise men. There was nothing astronomically in the sky that would have cast the kind of light that is at the heart of that story, where they were led into the desert to the baby that had
Why did I never think of that?
a vessel.
Right.
No,
I'm like, oh my gosh.
we're gonna
My dad was a lawyer.
eventually we're gonna know all of this, you know.
So the
but
Star of Bethlehem was a UFO.
yeah, fuck yeah, of course it was, because there was
Oh my
nothing
God,
else in
why?
the sky that was shedding any kind of light, even remotely bright
Right.
enough to have gotten them the full length of the
Right.
desert to get to that baby,
Goddamn.
you know. And the resurrection. I mean, just look at it, okay?
Right.
Jesus Christ Superstar, you bet your ass, Lenny, you bet. You know, this is, but I believe that many prophets, many teachers, you know, on the top of my Buttercup Brigade page, I put a banner a couple of years ago, and I just love it so much. I just leave it there. I stopped changing them out because I think it's the most important message. And it says, I did not come to teach you. I came to love you. Love will teach you.
I love it. I love that.
I have to borrow that.
It's
You can have it. Just go to Buttercup and click,
Okay.
right click, copy.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah.
I
Thank
stole it from someone too, and I have no idea who I stole it from, but it resonated so well with me. It
Yeah.
spoke to my soul. And I said,
Yeah.
okay, well, if it's touching me this way, it's going to
Right.
touch other people that way too. And for me, my connection with the galactic family is what I refer to as higher love. It's not like love that we express and explore amongst ourselves, not romantic love, not even familial love. I adore my family. I adore my family. But when I look up and I say, good morning, thank you for coming, and I blow a couple of cosmic kisses and I get hit with a crystalline white light that's so bright that it knocks me back, that releases a sensation in me that is absolutely blissful. It is joyful. It is liberating. It is illuminating. It is not of this world.
Yeah.
And that's what we should all strive to achieve, an understanding that we are loved. They love us. They would never do anything to hurt us. They want us to survive and thrive, and they want us to stop hurting ourselves and our planet and each other. You know, when we started blowing off atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs 75 years ago, we live in a multidimensional universe. We were not only damaging our planet, we were damaging other places in the universe, because everything is interactive, it's interrelated, it's all one. And so if they had the technology to get here, they came in droves. There are 58 races that have been known to either visit or habitate, to inhabit the planet with us currently now. They're here. They're among us.
Yeah.
And they're not hurting us. We're hurting each other.
Right.
They're not, they don't own the manufacturing plants where AR-15s are made, okay? They're the ones that are holding a door open for someone who is elderly and might have stumbled through it otherwise. They're the ones that you pass by all of a sudden and you feel like you've just been touched by an angel and you've never seen that person before, but everything shifted in that split second where you smiled at each other and your eyes connected. And you knew there was something magical about that moment and you didn't know what it was. That's them. I'm bringing my own, I am bringing my own special extraterrestrial to the UFO contact in Houghton Lake in a few weeks. Someone that I met just a month or so ago. And the instant I laid eyes on him, I turned to John Zaffis. I think it was John. I said, he's the reason I'm at this event. He's the reason I'm here. And I just dragged him into the room and I sat him down and like 15 or 20 minutes of, I'd never seen him before. I never knew anything about what he did, or how he did it, or who he did it with, or where he came from. And now he's going to be my special guest. as I introduce him to hundreds and hundreds of people. Yes, it is Rupert. You've been paying attention, Laura. You've been paying attention. And he's a tall white. He is somehow interconnected with the tall whites, the Pleiadians, the light workers. This man glows. He doesn't have an aura. He has a corona around him. He glows. And he is so profoundly connected with our galactic family. He's been, am convinced, placed here to help others to come to a greater understanding of who we are, why we are here, who we are connected to, and where do we go from here. And that's his job and his mission. And we've teamed up together to work our, magic spell, magic being science that we don't yet understand. And to touch as many hearts and minds and souls as possible. He is fascinated by the fact that I can, as a gift from them, I am able to open up people's third eye and give them a plethora of experiences that they've never had before, because they're not shut down. They're not blocked anymore. Most people who are blocked because they're aware that they have great gifts, and they're terrified to use them. Absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
It is scary. Dee, you're one of them. You're one of them. You have great gifts.
I will claim that. I am terrified.
You're terrified. Oh, okay.
I don't.
I want to be in communication. I just don't know how. Like, am I already? I mean, I don't know how to do that.
Goose, you're just such a weirdo. You really, really belong in the tribe. You really do. Ask John Tenney the etymology of the word weird. It goes back to the Middle Ages, W-Y-R-D, and it means those who live outside the walls of the castle and the kingdom. Those that project their own desires in life and live into their own destiny and are self-determined. I mean, it's just like the highest compliment that you can pay anyone is to call them a weirdo.
I agree.
Yep.
I love it.
My mother-in-law got mad at me because I called one of my kids weird. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so weird. And she was like, don't say that. And I was like, oh my God, what?
No,
that is that is a top tier compliment in our house.
It is.
Yeah, my family and we walk around and I'm like, what's up, weirdo? Like, talking to my kids. They're like, love you too, Dad. It's just like,
I always say it with such affection.
We like being weird.
I know, me too. We kind of levitate above the radar. Our whole clan, our ilk. We do.
Yeah.
We levitate. We float above the radar, and because we do that, we can look at life and the world objectively instead of subjectively. Instead of feeling victimized and feeling like we're all part of the problem, we kind of rise above it and long and desire to be part of the solution. I think it was Gandhi that said, one of my things is always be the light you seek, be the beacon in the night, help others, help them guide the way if you can, and be the difference that you want to see in the world. Be
Absolutely.
that, and once you live to that higher calling, that higher power, that higher standard, and that higher bar that you set for yourself, and you do so consistently so that it becomes absolutely habitual to be trying to achieve the status of being your own best self all the time. When you live into that, what you're doing is you're liberating everyone around you who is touched by your light. Everyone.
I think that it's people really underestimate this. It's really hard to explain, but when you decide that I'm not going to be the victim anymore, I'm not going to focus on the negative, and you start realizing that there is nothing stopping you from being the best version of yourself. Nothing stopping you.
Nothing.
Except your own negative thoughts. When
Right.
you start that path and you start being a better person, and I don't mean just like, working out or making more money or whatever, but like
Mhm.
in your heart, you start becoming a better person. The
Mhm.
universe totally supports that.
Yeah.
And you will get these little boosts all the time. And things will come into your life because you're on that path. And the universe is like, yep, you're on that right path. Keep going. And it just 100% supports you. And people don't understand that. Your mind is so powerful.
It is.
It's unbelievable.
It is. And we shortchange ourselves all the
Yes.
time. And we let
Yes.
things sneak in. I mean, I don't
Yes.
know about you, but I could just be doing the dishes. And all of a sudden, something that I thought I had reconciled and resolved
Yeah.
decades ago
Yeah.
will sneak up and just
Yeah.
bite me in the ass. And I'm like,
It
why
happens
am
to
I
me all
even
the time.
remembering this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? And so,
Mhm.
my personal philosophy is to address it instantly
Yeah.
and tell it, get the fuck out. Just get
Yeah.
out. And you
I'm
are
done with that.
expelled.
That doesn't
You
serve
are
me anymore.
expelled from my. But here's the mistake, and a lot of people do that, but that's only step one of a two-step process. The universe abhors a void, a vacancy. It will fill it. So instantly it will fill it. So if something dark and ugly and evil and humiliating or troubling or something that just is riddled with regret for you suddenly bounces up into your life and into your consciousness and you tell it to get out, you'd better damn well immediately fill that void with something that is your happy place, your a wonderful memory or a projection forward of something that you're looking toward
Yeah.
doing, or people that
Or
you're
gratitude.
about to, yes,
Yeah.
fill that void with something that is light and love and positive and constructive and beautiful. Because if you
Right.
don't, what you expelled is going to sneak in through the back door and come back to bite you again. It will. And that's part of the process, I think, of mastering our own mind, taking charge. Jonathan, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, these people,
She can say whatever the fuck she wants.
they have no idea.
And
Okay,
can I be honest? I just made the connection. I'm like, who the hell's Annie? Why is everybody who's Annie?
Yeah,
Oh my
and that would be
Oh my God.
That would be me.
It's Andrea.
Now, I'm going to tell you. All right. You know what drives me nuts? You want to know what my pet peeve is? I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
Every time you hear somebody drop that word or any other vulgarity or curse word and then say, pardon my French. Well, I'm half French, and I am going to tell you right now, you laugh it up, Fuzzball. I'll see you next weekend. I'm going to tell you right now that word is not French in origin. That word is English, from the Middle English. And I am a radical feminist, and I use it as a kick in the teeth of the societal, the dark space that we came from out of the Middle Ages, when if a woman was discovered having some kind of relations with a man, she would be tossed into the stocks and publicly humiliated, and he would get off scot-free because it's always the woman's fault, right?
Yeah.
So, where the word fuck comes from? Fornication under common knowledge. That was nailed at the top of the stocks while she was left out there in the hot boiling sun to be spit upon by the passers-by when she was only 50% responsible for what they were discovered doing. And the guy walks off, and that's still, so I use that word as punctuation for emphasis, but I also like to do the etymology of it so that people understand where it comes from and no, it's not French.
Nice.
Okay, I'm done with that.
it.
Michael, what do you think? Michael, what do you think? Come. Talk.
What?
He doesn't do that. He's just here to look
No.
good.
No.
Yeah, he's our eye candy. He's the
No,
eye
I'm
candy.
not. Stop it.
Look at his hair.
Stop it. Stop it.
Awfully feathered today.
He is.
So I
But
wanted to. I know
no,
it was
I was
like
I was
an
enjoying the
hour.
whole fuck conversation, so I was
Oh,
just
were
chilling.
you? Were you? Yeah, I know. And let's all give thanks together that when COVID struck, the internet did not disintegrate from overuse. What
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
we have done if we didn't have Zoom
my
and
God, yeah.
StreamYard and Skype and
Right.
you
Right.
know 1,000 other different
Mhm.
ways to do
Yeah.
this? You know, to be
This
Right.
was
in
our
contact,
sanity for a long time.
you
Yeah.
know, because just being little squares on a
is.
computer screen and looking
Yeah.
into each other's eyes that way, that's a connection too. You
Yeah.
know, and thank God that we've got this, that it didn't just implode from
Right.
overuse when that was
Right.
literally the only way that we could come together as the collective. I think it's interesting that we were talking about earlier the shift, the entire shift taking place in the collective, because it was that occurred at the same time that we fractured and all had to come apart and keep our distance
Yeah.
from each other.
Yeah.
That all happened simultaneously, and you would think
Yeah.
that it was an entirely counterintuitive thing, that
Mhm.
it, you know, it made no sense that it worked that way, but it
Yeah.
did, because we were all physically at a safe distance from one another, and yet we had this opportunity to come together and to interact and to express ourselves with each other and to see each other's laughing eyes and beautiful smiles and just feel ourselves fill up with the joy of being with our loved ones, even if it
Yeah.
was over a computer screen.
Well,
That mattered
the other
too.
thing,
I love
the
that
other thing
in the
too is
World
that
Wide Web went out, I would just go out in the woods and connect with God. I wouldn't. I'd freak the fuck out.
Yeah, how would you play all your airplane modular
No shit, man.
simulators and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, you know, it's,
I'm not going out in the woods. I'm going crazy.
yeah. Are you going crazy? Can I come? Because you know, I think I know the way. Actually, my nose is so itchy. That means I'm going to be kissed by a fool. Peanut, what are you doing?
well, I think that the other thing too is that when when we were forced to be away from people,
It was great.
we started to miss them and we stopped taking them for granted.
That's
I didn't.
I'm speaking to everybody except Heisenberg. He was
Yeah.
very happy to be away from people. But it's
There's always an exception to the rule.
yes. You have the people in your life where it's like, oh, I'll call them later, or oh, I need to remember to text them or whatever. And
Mhm.
everybody just gets so busy in their lives, and we take people for granted. And then once people were taken away and we didn't get to see people anymore and we didn't get to do Christmas and we didn't, then
Yeah.
everybody started to miss each other again. And so it brought a new connection, like
And
a
a new
gratitude.
level of appreciation
Yes.
for the
Yes.
ones, our loved
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah.
A
Who had
whole
We
been
did
there the whole
Thanksgiving and
time.
Christmas on Zoom with our families, like you said. Thank God
Yeah.
for the internet.
Yeah.
But we were still able to be together. We ate our dinners together and
Mhm.
opened gifts together, but we were just online.
Oh, darn it.
separate
If I
ways.
couldn't do that.
Yeah, right. Oh, my web's going out. I don't know what's going on.
One of the comments that just came up was from a woman that said that that she'd been hurt by
Mhm.
others, but will
Mhm.
not allow herself to be a victim. Rather
Yeah.
we should strive, I believe, to be victorious
Mhm.
over those that cast dispersions and disparage us and are harmful and belittling and dismissive of us and all of that. Yes, I don't know a person alive that hasn't been deliberately hurt by
Right.
someone else,
Mhm.
not just accidentally
Right.
or oh, I didn't mean that, and it came out
Right.
wrong or whatever. Deliberately hurt by another human being. And yes, I mean, sometimes that's physical, sometimes it's mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual, destructive. It's destructive. No matter how it impacts us, it's destructive. But when we come to the age of reason where we understand that, the old adage, what you think of me is none of my business,
Hmm.
pertains.
Okay.
What we have to
Yeah.
do is come to the understanding that when someone else doesn't feel tall unless they're standing on the broken body of someone they've just leveled,
Yep.
then they are the one that has the issue. And the
Yep.
worst thing that any of us can do is make it our own.
Yeah.
And so I practice forgiveness
Yeah.
regularly. I not only
Not for their
practice,
sake, for
no,
mine.
for
Yeah.
mine.
Yep.
Yes. And I've had to
It,
forgive myself. I've done stupid shit in my life. I've made big
Oh yeah.
mistakes. I have.
I feel like I forgive
Mhm.
myself more than I do anybody else. Just
Well,
Yeah.
looking at
maybe you have more to forgive, Goose. I mean, think about it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
It
and
it's
maybe it's just
healthy.
my competitive nature, but I feel
Mhm.
like when I am constantly thinking of that person and the things that they've done, then that means they've won because they're still, even after that act is done, they are still controlling me and my happiness.
Very
And
well put. That was
that
very
doesn't
well
sit
said.
well with
Yeah.
me, you know?
No, no, me either,
Mhm.
because what we ultimately have to learn to do, and a lot of that is fear based as well. And what we have to
Mhm.
learn to do is to embrace fear for its real purpose, that it serves as a tool for us. That tap on the shoulder that says,
Yeah.
Mhm.
best not get in the car with him. Don't go
Yeah.
walk
Yeah.
alone down there.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got some friends at the park. Don't make that decision. Don't, fear is supposed to save us from ourselves. It's
Mhm.
supposed to
Right.
save us from making stupid decisions. And then ultimately, if we are able to come to grips with that and not relinquish our personal power to fear, but
Mhm.
instead claim our power back, the best and most effective way to do that is to embrace it and love it and
Mhm.
thank it for every single time it intervened on your behalf.
Yeah.
But once you do that, it has no more power over you at all.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
once you love something that really wants you to hate it instead, it's disarmed. It has
Yeah.
no more
Yeah.
power. And
Mhm.
so I love my fear, that little part of me that's like, ooh, I shouldn't do that, because it
Right.
doesn't rule my life. It instead keeps me on a smoother track, a more forward momentum track, where I don't take detours
Right.
into areas where I should
Mhm.
not roam.
Right.
We talk
Yeah.
about going down the rabbit hole, getting deep into these conversations. Well, that is
Mhm.
part of it, because
Yeah.
ultimately we are consciousness. Our existence is based in our consciousness. Yes, we cannot
Mhm.
function or live without our human vessel.
Right.
Absolutely true. But there is something, um, cosmic consciousness exists throughout the universe. I am absolutely convinced.
Mhm.
Otherwise, there would not be sentient, prescient beings circumnavigating our globe
Right.
in untold numbers.
Mhm.
Right.
So it exists everywhere. I think that there is probably, I'm not positive, of course, but I think that there is one divine mind. We each have an individual brain, which has its
Mhm.
own elemental functions, but I think that mind is separate and distinct from the brain in
Yeah.
terms of function. And I think that we all tap into one divine mind, which
Y-
some people refer to as God, some people refer
Mhm.
to as prime creator, some
Yeah.
people refer to as Yahweh. It doesn't matter the
Right.
semantics. It doesn't,
Mhm.
call it what you will. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
It is that wellspring from which we
Yeah.
all have come forth into our existence. And you're right, we're a little tiny speck
Yeah.
of sand on a beach that is forever, goes on
Right.
forever and ever. And
Right.
so we're very busy usually making ourselves feel very important and puffed up and and the ego, I was very lucky. I worked in the
Yeah.
theater for like 25 years. I was a theater member of the theater company of Rhode Island. And I think I was probably in my mid 20s when my ego got run over in the parking lot after an audition or something where I was totally rejected. But I wasn't right for the part. Turns out I really wasn't. I just wanted it so bad,
Yeah.
But I just kind of kicked it to the curb and said, nothing that makes me feel this badly about myself has any room in my life. Get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've lived a better life for that.
Yeah.
Where it does not get easily insulted, it does not get easily put off, it does not get easily hurt. Because when ego rules your life, well, I think we have some living, breathing examples
Yeah.
in our current day of people who are literally ruled by their egos,
Yeah.
who are extremely destructive to themselves and others. Extremely. Putin is a perfect case in point. I mean, what's he compensating for? You know what I mean? Okay.
Right?
It's just
Wow.
it's just
Teeny
Love it.
weeny teeny man that he is. Blowing
He could be-
off his
he could
big
be president until
lungs.
1936.
What?
He could be president until 1936. That's what the Constitution says.
Yep.
He wrote it.
Yep. Yep.
it's just
I think you meant 20.
2036. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Wait,
You don't have to
wait.
come into this century if you don't want to. And
Yeah.
Let me do the
No,
math
say
on
that.
that real quick there, Heisenberg.
Look it up.
Look it up.
Mike,
think
if you
it's,
got a question, would you like to, hop on in because, you're just sitting there rocking and you look. I don't want you to doze off.
He's taking it all in.
I am.
I'm hot. Hold on. I'm hot. I'm having a flash. Oh,
I'm just listening. I get in there.
He waits for that moment where he can put in his
Yeah.
his 2 words of sarcasm, and then it's back to the waiting game.
sarcasm is light language. Sarcasm
Yes, it
is one of the highest forms of communication. It really
like
is.
that.
I'm convinced of
Then
it.
I'm a freaking god,
I like
I
that.
guess.
You are. You are a higher being. You are.
Yeah, you are, right?
Oh my God.
So
Am I anywhere near the thermostat that I could put the AC on a little higher? Oh, geez.
I mean,
All
do you
right,
want to
never
go
mind.
do
Go
it
ahead.
real
So ask
quick?
the question. We still have like an hour, almost an hour left. And
Okay,
there's so
so
much to talk about.
I wanted to ask, I don't know, I don't even know how to say it, but okay, so all of those people that you mentioned, like Tesla and all of those super smart people, do you think that they were just receiving messages like in that consciousness, like they just instantly knew how to make those things, or do you think that they were actually extraterrestrials making those things?
I think that they were extraterrestrials that didn't know that they were extraterrestrials.
So that's
I
a thing they could not
Just
know,
brainiacs.
like
Yeah.
like Rupert.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Rupert. Rupert is just now. And he's no spring chicken. I mean, he's been around for a while. He's just now coming to terms with his point of origin. And he finally understands what his mission is. Well, you know what? I didn't even start telling our family story until I was 48 years old and had some life experience under my belt and some real heartbreak and some real success and some real accomplishment and some very real life experience that I could draw upon that provided me with some, I think, elemental wisdom to look at my family history and glean something from it, draw something out of it, not just recount it like this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, but why did this happen?
Right.
How did it fundamentally change, alter me and the members of my family? Why didn't we all react the same way? why were there half of us that never wanted to leave that house and half of us that never wanted to look back? Why?
Yeah.
What were the dynamics? What was the psychological effect of having felt abandoned by our own father? Because he didn't believe my mother, so he wasn't going to believe his 5 little girls. He would just think that she had, projected her own stuff onto us. And children are
Right.
so malleable that, all of their imaginations, the 6 hysterical females. Hi,
Right.
and the only pragmatic, sensible one was the head of the household.
Of
Bullshit.
course.
He just didn't want to. It took him more than 40 years to admit that the reason he denied the activity at that farmhouse was because he was scared to death that he
Yeah.
had moved his wife and his 5 little girls into an environment where he had zero control over what was happening there and wasn't there enough to be able to operate effectively on our behalf. He couldn't do anything about it. And so it was just easier to deny it and to alienate the people he loved most in the world. Well, that makes a hell of a lot of sense, doesn't it? Why don't you think that through, Roger?
Right.
Yeah.
And now, Mr. Revisionist History, oh yeah, I knew the house was haunted. Ooh. Like, don't you even go there with us, because the reason you're not married to my mother anymore is because you didn't believe her and created a chasm between them that was so wide that neither of them could leap to the other side anymore. When you lose trust in a relationship, you've lost the relationship.
Yeah.
And even though they stayed together for years, through the time that we lived in the farmhouse, and then several years after we moved to Georgia, it was broken. It was irreparably broken. It was an irretrievable marriage because my mother would just as soon swallow her own tongue than lie to anyone, including her husband, and especially her husband.
Right.
He literally wrung the life force of love out of their relationship by denying the existence of what she and all of us knew. We were dwelling among the dead. We were so not alone in that house. And my first galactic family experience happened at the farm. I really do believe.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to try to see where the
I really
correlation
do
was.
believe it was being slammed with all the paranormal activity, the supernatural manifestations that opened me up completely to them. And I do believe that there is a point of correlation and integration which exists between spirit and extraterrestrials. And the reason is spirit are no longer of this earth. They are not earthbound souls the way that we are. They are of the ether. They are now in another dimension. But these dimensions interact. These dimensions cross. There are moments of contact which occur. One of my favorite movies is Lady Hawk, where they both transform at dusk and dawn. The lovers, that they transform, one into a hawk, and I don't want to give the movie away in case you haven't seen it, but you should really, really, really see Lady Hawk. It's very profound, as is The Never-Ending Story, a very profound film. The Last Mimsy, obscure films, yes, but with very important messages to impart. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I have it on the most reliable authority that film might as well be listed as a documentary,
Wow.
That the only thing that is
I
not
have,
true in that
yeah, I
film
have.
is
Mhm.
that the exchange took place not at Devil's Tower,
Mm-hmm.
Wyoming, but this little kind of off-site place known as Area
Mm-hmm.
51, 93 miles
There was
northwest of
actually
Las
a
Vegas.
researcher I had read and heard. There was actual researcher that's in the movie that makes a cameo appearance.
Yes.
Like he doesn't have a speaking part, but he's like one of the scientists that just comes out of the background and looks up like, and that's
Mhm.
basically it. But I know he was deeply involved with what actually happened.
Yes. Yep. And you know,
It's a great movie. I love it.
it is. It's a great, great film. And Steven Spielberg had inside information, as did George Lucas, as did Gene Roddenberry. You know,
Yeah.
there are people that are chosen to have certain information imparted to them so that they can drip, drip, drip it out into the public consciousness to prepare us, And, you know, Steve Bassett, who I consider a friend, he's a wonderful man. He's been working in the field of what is now known as ufology for decades. And he actually works in Washington as a lobbyist for the galactic family.
Nice.
And you know, so I used to be rather militant. Steve said described me as rogue, which is that's that's as much of a compliment as calling me a
Yeah, I
weirdo,
was gonna say.
as
Yeah,
far as I
I was
am
gonna say
concerned.
that's
But you
awesome.
know, I spent many years being really angry about us being perpetually lied to. It was very upsetting to me because I felt like, you know, humanity is ready for this. We're ready for this. And
Yeah.
we're not given credit for our own innate intelligence.
Hmm.
And it's time for, you know, all that has been kept secret. You know, they gathered last year or last year, gathered, you know, 16 of the finest minds on this planet together and gave them
I
all
wasn't there.
classified. Really? I knew it. I knew it. And I knew you were missing, and now I know where you were.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get the memo.
I know it's awful. But, you know, had I been included in that group and I was handed all of the declassified material, I would have pushed it right back across the table and said, you know what? This is an all or nothing proposition. You don't pull together a team like this and then hide what you don't want that team to comment on or
Yeah.
digest.
Yeah.
That is an
Right.
absolute insult to their intellectual prowess, to their, you know, reasonable willingness to devote a certain amount of their own limited lifetime to this process. How dare you?
Yeah.
Unclassified, declassified, highly classified, all of it. Give us all
Yeah.
of it. So I'm
Well,
talking to Bassett about this on my show,
Yeah.
and he said, all right, Andrea, he said, there's something that you need to understand here. People are not ready for this. People are not all people are ready for this. And
Yeah.
so just because you and, you know, the people that you hang out with and are totally, you're working with in this field are already willing and able to absorb whatever comes out, not everyone is, and that this has to be done gradually and incrementally so that he said, let me give you an analogy. He said, uh, a plane crashes and there are survivors of the plane crash. And after they have exhausted all their food supply, when there was anything left to eat, and then they start to waste away as time passes, and they're just foraging and scavenging and living on whatever they can get to try to stay alive. And then in comes the rescue plane, and they have virtually a smorgasbord of delectable items for these starving survivors to ingest. The human proclivity is for those individuals who are starving to literally eat themselves to death, to
Mhm.
gorge on the food that their bodies can no longer handle in terms
Right.
of what they can take in, and it overworks their vital organs, and they literally die from having, a cornucopia of food after being so depleted and deprived
Mhm.
for so
Right.
long.
Right.
So that's the analogy that he was using. Because I kept saying it's like they're just dropping little breadcrumbs for us to follow
Yeah.
the path,
Mhm.
and pick up
Yeah.
this little tidbit and that little morsel, and then just
Mhm.
keep on going. And there's another little morsel. And he said that's what they're doing it the way that they're doing it,
I
not
mean,
because of you. They're doing it that way for the masses. So that
okay.
in the same way that because we learn gradually, we learn incrementally. Let's face it, humanity learns very slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humanity at large, the collective, learns slowly. And so we can be as frustrated as we want to be, but nothing
Mhm.
is keeping those of us who are contactees, who are experiencers, from putting out our delightful, wonderful, uplifting, positive, hopeful message for the future
Mhm.
through the experiences that we've had with the galactic family. And there are millions, millions of us. Oh, a dog. There's a dog. Look
That's
at that
Roscoe.
doggy.
Roscoe,
Let's go.
Doggy. Oh, so sweet.
big boy.
I mean,
Yeah.
I I do understand that. I do understand that not a lot of people are ready for that. But at the same time, it's very hard for me not to think that it's a control thing.
It is a
Um,
control thing. Absolutely. You're
because
absolutely right.
like we talked about
They're
earlier,
not doing it to be benevolent. They're
Mhm.
doing it to protect themselves.
right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like
Yeah.
they hold this power over us.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different reasons that they hold the power, but they hold the power. And it's because we're all asleep and afraid all the
Yes.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
But not
now
all of us
imagine,
are. Not all of
right,
us are.
right, as a
Yeah.
collective, I mean, though.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
now imagine we get this wake up call where they just tell us everything. And now
Mhm.
you have an entire world full of people like the four of us who aren't asleep and afraid. And that would be scary to them because we
Because it
would
could very
realize,
easily undermine their authority.
yes,
Yes.
Mhm.
we would realize how strong we are together. And we would
Mhm.
realize that there's nothing we can't do together.
Bingo.
And that is
Mhm.
totally scary to the people who are here
Yeah.
controlling
Yeah.
Yeah.
the rest of the world.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
whole fear with this whole thing, when this all comes to a head and the big reveal
Probing.
happens.
You're afraid of the probing, right? You're afraid of the probing. Are you?
Not afraid of
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I'm kind of into probing. Um, my biggest fear with the whole thing is honestly not even the big reveal, like the big contact, the mass opening of the consciousness. Like we all know finally that it's real.
Yeah.
It's not my fear of the galactic family, the guys hanging out wherever they're hanging out in the universe. It's the
Yeah.
people here on planet, the
Yep.
humans, that I'm
Yes.
afraid of their reaction.
It's
Yep.
the
And my
people who
my
sat
take
in It's the people who
no go
sat
ahead.
in that congressional hearing and said that
Mhm.
we need to make sure that our nuclear weapons are intact
Yeah.
because they are a threat to national security. Those are the people who scare me. Those are the beings
Scare
that
the
scare me.
living
And
out.
they're stupid as shit, man. If you see Independence Day, those nuclear weapons didn't do
Right.
shit.
Right.
Right.
All it's going
My
to do
whole
is
take on that,
destroy us.
my whole take on the hearing at the end of the day too was they know, we all know they know.
Mhm.
They think we're stupid.
They
I mean,
think
Right.
we're
they
stupid.
obviously think we're stupid. So now they're gonna like, okay, they know something's about to happen. I feel like there's something about to happen, major something. Don't know what it is, and I don't think it's going to be this horrendous multiverse war that the warmongers are and the government are saying it's going to be.
Right.
But they know what's going to happen, but they're just giving us a little bit. Like, let's let the idiots that don't have our jobs feast on this for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, they're trying to, like you said, it's just all a big cover up, and it just drives me
Mhm.
insane. We all know already. All of us
Yeah,
know.
we do. And it really is insulting to our intelligence
It
as a
is.
race.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
Candace, Candace is here. Oh, I love Candace. I hope you all know and love Candace too. She's a wonderful woman. I had her on my show a few weeks ago. I should have
I
you
think-
guys on my show, return the favor, and have you on my show,
Okay. I'm
which is
down.
called
That'd be
A
awesome.
World Awakening,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
what are we talking about right now?
A world
Okay.
awakening.
Right in, I'm telling you.
Just tell us
Yeah.
when. We'll be there.
The other thing I worry about too is, as a collective, people are very, very brainwashed. We have been raised to believe that everything that is on the picture box is real, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very afraid that something is going to happen and they are going to blame it on the galactic family. And it's really not going to be that
Mhm.
at all.
Yeah.
And just make
You know
people
how
think.
fast they can shut that shit down? I mean, they
Oh, yeah.
really, they can try to blame it on our galactic family. They can try to blame it on the extraterrestrials. But believe me, please believe me when I tell you, they won't get away with it. They just
Okay.
won't. They are so far advanced. They are so. You remember? Okay, the film footage that kind of broke all of this open a few years ago, 2017. The film footage that was released from the USS Nimitz off the coast of California, or the little tic tac shaped one.
Yeah, the Tic
Yep.
Tac. Yeah, we were talking about that
all
last
over
week.
and under the water, and then up,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
60,000 feet in 2.5 seconds, or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Using technology that they weren't any kind of a threat at all. They were playing. Look at
Right.
that film footage. They were making their presence known in a very unique, genuinely playful way. Like, look what we can
Yeah.
do. You
Yeah.
can't catch
And when you
us.
hear the footage of like
You
the
know?
communication of the pilots themselves, they're like, "Oh my god!" They're getting so excited, like seeing this happening, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's what we want. We want to be
Right.
excited. We want to like see and experience all of this.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we won't.
You don't think so?
No. As a human race, no.
And then there's people who close it
Nope.
off, and no matter what happens, it's not real.
That's okay.
Yeah.
They can go stick their heads in the sand and be the ostrich. That's fine. But you know what? In the age of global communication, willful ignorance is a choice. It is a choice. And if that is the choice that they want to make, let them make it. My
Mhm.
darlings, we are not here for everyone. And it's
Yeah.
not our job to save everyone or to enlighten everyone. There are
Yeah.
some who are so far gone in terms of their own inability to process, fact versus fiction.
Yeah.
That gravitate to and want to live in the darkness, that think that evil is powerful. I mean, it's a pathology. There's a lot of cult behavior going
Yeah.
on, not just in this country, worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean, this is happening in numerous countries with numerous autocrats and, wannabe dictators, and that's people perfectly willing to relinquish their power because then they don't have to be responsible for making their own decisions. They just do what they're told.
Yeah.
And it's easier. And
Yeah.
that's your common denominator right there.
Yeah.
It's easier. I mean, we've got a group of people in this country right now that measure in the millions, that are known as the evangelicals, that are perfectly willing to kick Jesus to the curb and worship the fatted cow with the gilded toilet. That's happening in America right now. And we are on the precipice of losing our precious democracy because of this pathology.
Yeah.
So do you think that group of people is ready to absorb, digest, comprehend, or even consider what I
Yeah.
said an hour ago, that Jesus Christ might have been an extraterrestrial sent
It's
to
funny.
Earth to teach us how to love, honor, and
Yep.
respect each other? And so, that message, that heretical message, kill him,
Yeah.
kill him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's
You
funny you
know?
say that you guys were talking about being ex Catholics. I come from an ex evangelical family.
Oh,
So I know exactly what that's all about. Like we were so everything was just so weird. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. I couldn't read comic books. I wasn't allowed to play with Transformers, normal kids stuff.
kid
Just
stuff. Well,
everything was
my
yeah.
partner on Soul School, Jeff Turner, was an evangelical minister who
Oh wow.
walked away from the church, from his congregation,
Yeah.
walked away from it and said, my salvation, my ability to save myself is to
Mhm.
turn and walk away from this pathological mindset
Uh-huh.
that was caving in on him. He didn't
Mhm.
he didn't know what to believe. And so instead, and his childhood was lost to it. His
Mhm.
childhood was one of abuse. And
Yeah.
I mean, any child that has to pray on his knees for 8 hours a day in order not to
Yeah.
go to hell,
Right.
I'm sorry, that's child abuse. That's
Yeah.
what it is. We've talked
Mhm.
about it openly on Soul School.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not talking out of turn by expressing what Jeff went through.
Right.
It fractured him. It broke him open. And
Mhm.
after all of the indoctrination that he had had for so many years, he turned and he walked away from it. He liberated himself and said, I had the key all along
Yeah.
and I
Yep.
didn't know it. Just like Dorothy, when Glinda the Good Witch said,
Yeah.
you had your way home all along. You just had to
Yeah.
learn it for yourself. I
Yeah.
mean,
I need to
Wizard
talk
of
to him because
Oz is
I
I'd be
filled.
so pissed off. I'd be like, you should have told me that a long time ago, man.
You bitch. You could
But
have
it's
told me right at the beginning of the movie and
I
didn't
like I had to
say
deal
it,
with the
you
witch
know?
and shit.
yeah.
it wasn't long after that I was forced to do kind of the same thing for something that I did at church.
Yeah.
That my parents like kind of reevaluated where we were with our religion and how things should be, that they decided to walk away. The politics, the backstabbing, it was like
Yeah. Was ugly
it
and
was church.
evil and mean
It was like
spirited.
it was gang warfare. It really
Yeah.
was. It's just like if you weren't one of the shepherd, you were the wolf and you were,
I know.
ousted.
Yeah.
Yep. And really all it boils down to is the one fundamental tenet that exists throughout all philosophy and religious text since the written word first appeared. Do
Mhm.
unto others as you would have
Yeah.
others do unto you. It
And
is just that simple. Be kind, be light, be love, be good, be pure,
yeah.
be sweet,
I
be
don't think that I've ever like had an experience like the things that you talk about. And I don't claim to be like psychic or anything, but I have always felt, even watching all of the things in Hollywood about alien attacks and all of this other stuff, I have always in my heart felt that even if we're not able to communicate with them, that they have this ability to see who we are as a person. You know, what our intentions are, basically, kind
yes,
of like an
yes,
aura type thing. Um,
yes.
and I don't know what's going on. But I do know that something big is going on. And I do know that it's not going to be pretty at first, but I feel like in the end, it's blind faith, but I do have faith that everything will work out. But I genuinely feel like what we are experiencing right now is literally good versus evil. And it's not You know,
Yes.
it's not a particular race or sexuality or, you know, anything.
No.
It's not Republican, Democrat. It's
It's a
good
mindset.
versus
It
evil.
is that it is
Yes.
that conflict, that perpetual conflict. And I
Yes.
think that it breaks down to two. I think there are two separate, distinct mindsets at work on Earth simultaneously. And one of them is we, capital W, capital E, we are
Yeah.
all in this together.
Yeah.
And the other
Right.
one is all for me, the rest of you bastards are on your
Right.
own.
Like me versus the world. Yeah.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
and and really the common denominator with that mindset is greed, because nobody ever taught these people that they can't take it with them and
Right.
that sharing feels good.
Right.
You know, and it's just that ugliness. You know, there's I refer to this relatively often. There's an old adage about a Cherokee grandfather, and my mother being part Cherokee. I've been hearing this since I was knee high to a grasshopper,
Mm.
and it basically says this: there are two. A grandfather is telling his grandson the nature of human nature, and he says to him, "There are two wolves inside of you, my grandson. And one is filled with light and love and generosity and kindness and goodness. And the other one is filled with greed and avarice and fear and ugliness." And goes on to list all, you know, the negative, not the positive attributes, but the negative characteristics of
Yeah.
these two combative wolves that are fighting inside each and every one of us. And the little boy looks to his grandfather and he says, "Who wins?" And his grandfather says, "The one you feed."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
And
love it.
I find myself I just am completely detached from people because I see the ego and, you know, the greed and all of that. I see it in some of the people who I loved the most years
Yeah.
ago. You know what I mean? And I
I
see
understand. I've had
I
friendships fractured in recent years. We don't
yeah,
even have to go there. Why? We all know it's the, you know,
yeah.
read between the lines. It's unspoken, but
And
an absolute fracturing
yeah.
of relationships that I thought were forever. And
Yes.
I'm saying, how did I not know this about
Right.
you? How did I not
Yeah.
know? You know,
And
why are
now
you
I can't unsee
masquerading
it.
as a spiritual
Right.
person when this is really how you think? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it has been heartbreaking
Oh
for
yeah.
me to see families just blown apart.
Mhm.
And God, I hate to say this, I hate to say it, but all of this is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
All of this
Yeah.
is part of the paradigm shift. And if it didn't have to happen this way, it would have happened another way.
Yeah.
The murder of George Floyd, of an innocent man, for the potential passing of a counterfeit $20 bill that he might not even have known wasn't real. He
Yeah.
died for that underneath the knee of a man who is the personification of pure, unadulterated evil that pressed that knee into that man when he knew he couldn't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Well, that's how I feel. I can't breathe in this 3D existence that is oppressive and so filled with
Yeah.
vitriol and hatred and loathing that I get so angry that I come right up to that chasm where I'm about to become what I loathe.
Yeah.
And then I have to step back and go, no,
Mhm.
breathe, breathe. You can breathe. You can
Yeah.
breathe. Just breathe.
Yeah.
It's
You know, and
so
so I
hard.
mean, this is We're all struggling with this. I
Yeah.
thought if, when the paradigm shift, quote unquote, like appeared, that I would be the most prepared person on the planet. And
Mhm.
it leveled me. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
leveled me. All I could do was sleep and cry and watch TV and pray and
Yep.
Yeah.
just beg for release from the incredible pain of watching so many others suffer, the fear
Yep.
of having my 86-year-old father go shopping at Publix and refuse
Yeah.
to wear a
Mhm.
mask. Are you kidding me? Put that piece of cloth over your face to protect yourself so that you don't bring something home to me. What
Yeah.
what don't you get about this, And then living in
Mhm.
Florida with that maniacal idiot that runs the state. I mean, oh my God. I can't. No, we can't even go there. We only have 10
Yeah,
minutes.
let's not.
Please
Let's
don't
talk
shift
about
this.
light and love and light and love
Yeah.
and some more light
Yeah.
and love. But
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I lived on for 3 months, the first 3 months, ice cream. And I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh,
It
no.
wasn't pretty.
Oh, that's horrible.
It wasn't pretty. I'm telling you, it was
Well,
awful.
if we were
Yeah.
away from everybody.
Yeah. Fine.
That was the time.
No, Mike. Okay. When we meet in person, please remind me to kick your ass for that. I'm gonna forget because COVID brain. But please.
Oh yeah,
remind
we've met in person. I just
me.
kind of blend in.
It's just,
He puts
It's
the
just-
sunglasses on and pretends to be asleep.
yeah.
You guys.
It's just hard because I feel like at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing to go through. But God damn, the process to get there is so hard. It's
Sucks.
so
Yeah.
hard.
It
And
sucks.
I know mental illness. I know depression. I know anxiety. And this is so
Mhm.
different. This is so
It is
different.
so different.
I mean, I couldn't talk to anyone. I would see a text message and I would just ignore it. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't do anything. And it was just taking over everything. And then I don't know, I just woke up one day and was like, okay, I need to combat this with positivity and with love and
Mhm.
just for everything that I see that is just greed and evil and ego, I just need to counteract it. And I just need to do good things for people and love my children more and hope that they will then go out and spread love. But it is not pretty.
Yeah, it is.
No,
No,
and
spiritual evolution is probably the most difficult process that any of us ever go through. And the thing is that it's intention, it's willful. We have to decide if we
Mhm.
want to evolve. And a lot of people
Right.
don't because it's just easier not to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just so much easier not to. It's so much easier to, people don't like to admit that they were wrong. They don't
Mhm.
like to
Mhm.
ever admit that they were duped. They don't
Yep.
ever want to, feel stupid or weak or used or conned or all of that. And so they will support the abuser in order to not feel victimized.
Yeah.
Isn't that an extraordinary psychological dynamic
Yes.
that we're witnessing in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
own society right
Mhm.
now?
Mhm.
And it's not just here, it really is all over the world. It really is.
Right.
I mean, there's
Mhm.
Yeah.
the tumult that is occurring. When I was
Yeah.
lecturing at the Star Work Symposium last November, one of my friends, Regina Meredith, who is just a brilliant woman, she lectured before I did, and she was talking about the pyramid and how the smallest part is obviously right at the top, and that if we take that image and we flip it on its head, where, you know, the masses are all filtered at the base. We create the foundation of it. And at the titular pinnacle head are the handful of people who run this world, the
Yeah.
power mongers, the warmongers, the abusers, those that destroy rather than create.
Yeah.
And what if we collectively take that pyramid and turn it on its head? What do you think is going to get crushed by the weight of the masses?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why they don't want us to know about these things.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we could go on for the next 6 hours, not even moving off of this element, this part of the conversation about humanity as a whole, because there's still so much to say. There's so much we've barely scratched the surface. We hardly even talked about ghosts and spirits. Can I come back and play with you guys some
Anytime.
more?
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all I can say is thank God for the galactic family, because, man, some of these humans.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Getting harder and harder to deal with.
Well, you know,
Take
my
me
sister
away.
calls them my little friends. My
Oh.
sister Christine calls them my little friends. And I'm like, first of all, well, you know, she said to me sometime last year, she's like, what happened to NASA? You know, NASA used to be like such a big deal.
Yeah.
And now we're outsourcing, you know, all of our space travel to this company and that corporation. And, you know, and I said, oh, honey, please believe me when I tell you NASA is alive and well underground. And there's stuff going on behind the scenes that you can't even imagine. And we were talking about the fact that, you know, people were going up into space, you know, just normal people were going up into space for the first time. And she's like, I would never do that. And I said, oh my God, I would go in a heartbeat. I would go in a heartbeat. I would. And her response was, she was sitting right over there. She just looks at me and she says, you just want to go see your little friends. And I said, first of all, they're not that little. Second of all, I don't need to go see them because they come to me. And she's like, okay, I'm out of here. I don't want to have this conversation. You know, I can't deal with this. It freaks me out. It scares me. I mean, you would be amazed, some of the people who are in the upper echelon of the paranormal. And I'm talking about people who are at the top of this field of research are terrified of extraterrestrials. Let me name names. John Zaffis, Chip Coffey, Adam Berry, Amy
Eisenberg.
Terrified. Oh, let's not forget Dave Schrader, who runs away from me and screams like a little girl when he sees something he can't explain. The people that have done this, who are perfectly fine with dead people, but they don't want to even know about the living ones that are all around us. It freaks them out entirely. I don't understand that. I respect it. Well, I really don't. I mean, I respected them. I don't respect I think if you're going to be curious and fascinated and intellectually precocious, then you need to be that way about everything, not just selectively this or that or the other thing. And since all of this falls under the very broad canopy of the paranormal umbrella, then let's do this. You know, and
I think that way. I'm just majoring in ghost.
Okay.
Right.
So
that's the line of the night.
So like UFOlogy and cryptozoology, those are just like requirements like LERs. You just have to take them because
I know
it's part of the major.
But we need to make that quantum leap from kindergarten and grade school to grad school.
Yeah,
we do. If we're going to come into the 21st century, if we're going to save this planet, if we're going to stop decimating the population of it for myriad reasons. If we're going to stop killing and start nurturing and protecting, if we're going to do that, the little man baby, I saw that. That's all I saw was that. That's adorable. I know exactly who she's talking about. You know, if we're gonna make it, then we need to make an effort.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here tonight. And that's what is so uplifting. It's not just the caffeine. I'm high on you guys. I am, you know, I'm high on life because, you know, I mean, if we could just bottle you, you know, I mean, it's my new drug of choice. This is an important conversation with, you know, the people that make a difference. I mean, instantly, as soon as Goose called me and said, you know, can you do my show? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. When? When do you want? Oh, let me get my calendar.
I love it.
Oh, yes. And we're going to reschedule. We're going to schedule another conversation like this because there's really important things to discuss. And yes, the time is now. The time is now. This can't be put off. We need to get it right, and we need to do it in a way that is not alienating, no pun intended. We need to do this in a way that is inclusive.
Together.
Where we just wrap our arms around everyone. The borders go down. The labels go away. And, you know, are you a living, breathing entity with 4 legs or 2?
You're in.
That's it. You're in.
Yep. Speaking of 4 legs, look how my dog just like perfectly lays.
I know.
I know. That was like
here he's on the screen.
Oh
yeah, perfect.
He knows.
Like, don't mind me.
Right.
I know.
He's gonna majestically lay here.
Yeah.
Don't mind me.
Auntie Annie says hello, and Peanut sends for love.
Heisenberg.
Yeah. You have anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, you know, whatever. Google me. I know that sounds dirty, but really, if you just Google me, you'll find everything and anything that you could possibly need. My website is down. I don't give a shit. You know, I'm trying to bring it into the 21st century. There's nothing on there that you can't find in 1,000 other places anyway. I'm reading.
That Flash player was a bitch.
Yeah, you know, taking my time. You know, I'm taking care of my mother. My mother is in hospice palliative care. She is the #1 priority. Everything else takes a back seat to that. I get done what I can do, and then everything else can wait because I can only get this. I have one chance to do this right with my mother. And so, and she is the center of my universe. I don't know how to live without her. And so Christine and Cindy and I mean, we're all around her all the time and lifting her up. And she's actually, thank you, honey. She's actually doing better. She was so thrilled when I got home from Michigan. You would have thought I'd been gone 3 months instead of 3 days. Honest to God, she was so thrilled. You know, I know we're running out of time. In fact, we are out of time. But
only by
yes,
numbers.
Diana, Mama is #1. But I truly, genuinely want to thank all 3 of you for being the remarkable individuals that you are. And I truly feel love in my heart for all 3 of you. And it was absolutely delightful spending these couple of hours with you tonight. I'm truly grateful, and I will absolutely be back for us to pick up where we left off.
Absolutely. Do you remember the first time you were on the show? And I was so nervous, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to be on the show. And as soon as I saw your face, I was like, oh, I know her. I feel like I've known you my whole life. Like,
forever and ever. Amen.
Multiple lives. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I've only seen you at the last 2 Parapsychons, and you're the only one I need to go visit. Like, I'll just, you know, we'll walk by everybody else. I'm like, hey, hi, how you doing? I'm like, I gotta go see Mama. I gotta go give her
I need a hug.
I know. Sending them your way, all of you, and all of our viewers. Thank you to everybody.
You guys are amazing. So many good comments in there.
And before we sign off, this is for you.
Oh,
it's perfect.
Love it.
Perfect.
Love is the answer to every single question.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
Awesome.
all the time.
Well, we will talk to you
All right.
soon. We appreciate it
Yep.
so much.
Yep.
I appreciate you too. My love to all of you, one and all.
Which is a good way to say
Don't be an asshole.
Right.
don't be an asshole, guys.
Don't
We
be an
love you.
asshole.
That's our way of saying spread love.
And- yes, it is. And also the declaration that all the para people now make to each other since last year was drive safe, don't die. Drive
Yeah.
safe means, be a responsible adult behind the wheel
Yeah.
of the car. Don't die means COVID. So drive safe, don't die. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It was an awesome. We could do this for hours and hours more.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
will.
we can't. And we will. We'll keep going and going until it'll never be over. I don't know.
Until everyone's exhausted. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
We've had enough of them.
Yes.
Get the hook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there we are. And you guys have a good weekend. Have a safe holiday. Labor Day's coming up on Monday. So
Yeah.
all of you be safe. We'll love you and we'll spook you later, crypto heads.
Speak you later.
Bye.
Bye.